We have all seen stories of football clubs who run into financial problems and end up getting relegated as a result. That could have happened here in Portugal at the end of last season with Boavista. They got relegated due to not having enough points to stay up, but had they managed to stay up, Boavista still would have been relegated because they have no money. And now they're almost extinct. Last season, France tried to relegate Lyon, the French Federation, that is, not the country of France. Lyon won an appeal and got to stay in the first division, and they're actually competing in Europe in the Europa League. Go figure how that works. And we've seen other stories with English clubs who run into financial problems. They get sent down to lower divisions. But today we're going to go back to Andorra, the place we were 2 weeks ago, and we're going to learn about a club that got relegated during the season and right before the start of one of their games. My name is Howie. This is usually Positively Portugal, but today it's absolutely Andorra once again. Let's get into it. 2 weeks ago, I made a video about Casa de Portugal. That is the football club that represents the Portuguese population living in Andorra, which is actually 10% of the country. According to the 2024 figures, there are 82,000 people in Andorra. The 2025 figures say 87,500. I can't imagine that being accurate because how could a country's population grow by 6.7% in just 1 year? That's a little strange to me, so I'm more inclined to believe the 2024 numbers. But today we're going to talk about Pas de la Casa. And yes, it's another casa. I guess that's an Andorran thing to include the word casa in football clubs. But with this one, it's actually the name of a town. Pas de la Casa is a ski resort town. It's in the Pyrenees Mountains, close to the French border. And they they still have a football club that was competing in the first division. And an hour before one of their games, the game was canceled and they were relegated to the second division. Pas de la Casa is going to appeal that, but it's just a whole mess. I don't think anyone's ever heard of a club getting relegated mid-season, unless it was like a scandal of some sort, like match fixing. It's just completely unheard of. And it goes to show that the landscape of Andorran football might be a little bit on the crazy side. So what doesn't really add up to me is how could a club that is in a ski resort town have that kind of financial difficulties? When you hear the words ski resort, the first thing that'll come to your mind is money. It's not even skiing, it's money. But Pas de la Casa plays in a ground, because you can't even call it a stadium. It's a ground that only holds 300 spectators. And you have to ask yourself, how does that happen? When you're talking about a ski resort town, well, all you really need to do is have one more leisurely activity there to kind of diversify yourselves, make sure that people can visit you, people who are not into skiing. And by having a football club, that would be the perfect accompaniment. So how do you have a ground that only holds 300 people when you're talking about a town that you know money is there, or coming in, or leaving, but there's money. There's no reason to think why Pas de la Casa cannot succeed. It's just irresponsible ownership. You cannot half-ass ownership in football. It never works out. And the fact that this ski resort town has a ground that holds 300, only 300, is an absolute embarrassment. How can a club make money? Not just being in a ski resort town, but how can any football club make money when the ground holds 300 people? And you can't even call it a stadium at that point, because you know damn well when you're talking about just 300 people, there's no physical structure that you can enter from. There's no stadium. It's just a ground. So that is a self-inflicted wound by the terrible ownership of Pas de la Casa. So now I want to talk about the structure of Andorran football. There are two divisions. In the first division, there are 10 clubs. In the second, there are 8. In the first division, it is a 27-game season. You play each team 3 times, so 9 times 3 is 27. In the second division, there are only 21 games. Again, you play each club 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. So the first thing you notice is that's the thing that is going to need to change. You have to have more games in the course of a season to, number one, be taken seriously, number two, make any money. You could even reach the point where if you have so few games, how could you even be invited into European competitions? So you have 18 clubs, but not really. You only have 16 because 2 of the clubs in the second division are actually B teams for clubs in the first division. And I'm not sure that Andorra has the financial power to really sustain 2 divisions. Now, you really want to tell these 2 B teams to go take a long walk off a short cliff. I don't think anybody needs to see that. That's the thing that's in Spain and Portugal, B teams competing in lower divisions. You don't see that in England or some other places you might think of. Off the top of my head, I can only think of Spain and Portugal that allow that. So you have 16 clubs. What I really think should happen is you play a 30-game season, you play each club twice, 15 times 2 is 30, and that instantly gives you more credibility. I know that you don't have promotion relegation if you go to that, and it becomes just like the United States, and that's a bad thing in football. You want to have promotion and relegation. They're ready for that in the United States, at least I believe so. But the truth is, I don't consider a lack of promotion and relegation to be the worst thing in world football. To me, the worst thing in world football are the Latin American countries who play 2 seasons in one with the Apertura and the Clausura. They have 2 champions in one season. I think that's a bunch of crap, and I don't give a damn if they play each other, the champion of the Apertura and the champion of the Clausura, at the end of the season to decide who the grand champion is. And quite frankly, I have no proof that they even do that. I would imagine they do. I would like to think that they do. But just the fact that you have 2 champions in one season with players and club administrators and fans celebrating winning a half-season title is absolutely obscene to me. So, no, I don't believe that a lack of promotion and relegation is the worst thing in world football. But can 16 clubs really survive in a country that only has 82,000 people? Probably not. Casa de Portugal is fortunate. They have their audience, they have their purpose. And Pas de la Casa should be in a similar situation, but they're not. Because how can they be? Maybe some clubs will merge, some will probably fold, go out of existence. And Andorra is a small country, but they have a lot of potential. The Andorran League is never going to be Spain or England, but with the Spanish, French, and Portuguese influences in that country, their football league has the potential to be more prominent than it is now. So, if you want more videos about moving to Portugal, the process of getting here, Portuguese football, Andorran football, anything Portugal related, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and hype the video. These are the best things you can do to help a content creator on YouTube. I want to thank you all for watching, and Força Casa de Portugal!